everyone coming in. Thanks for joining. Hello on YouTube, Facebook, hello on TikTok. Put those questions in the comments. Hi, Joanne. I am only taking questions today. So put those questions in the comments and I'll get straight to answering. Now, the best thing you can do is always reach out to us individually and schedule time to talk about your particular issue. But I do answer general questions, which I can start doing now. What can get you denied a US visa after you travel a lot? So if you travel a lot, I'm thinking you already have a visa. And sometimes if you say you do a lot of travel, so say you did a 6 month stay in the US, you went back to your country and then you stayed another, then you returned again after maybe a week and try to stay another 6 months, they could suspect that you're trying to either live in the US with a visitor's visa or you're trying to work here. And that's why you want to spend a long time. So that's one of the red flags if you travel often and they start to suspect that you're working. Hi there, Landa. It's nice to see you. Hi, good afternoon. Before you miss your biometrics appointment, how long it take to get an appointment back? So I am seeing around 2 months to get them to reschedule. Now, if you know you can't make the appointment, you need to go and reschedule. They do have the option to reschedule. Will VAWA be impacted by Trump administration if he's re-elected? So VAWA is a statute that was enacted by Congress. So it's not Trump that can change that law. It has to be Congress. So I would say he doesn't have the power to revoke VAWA just by being president. However, what could happen is if now Congress is on the same page as Trump and they decide that they want to reverse VAWA, take away the law altogether, uh, it's called repealing the law, then that's a problem. But we haven't heard anything like that happening. How to prove bona fide marriage for green card? Show any documentation that shows that you're building a life with your spouse. So it's it's as easy as, when you get married, you are looking forward to a future together for a lifetime. And so you start to take measures to do that. You move in together, you get a joint lease, you get joint bank account, you go on the same car insurance. So these would be the kinds of documents that you have to show the bona fides. I'm here working but not being paid well. What can I do? Get in touch with us. Let's talk about what you're going through and determine if there's any kind of relief for you. Good afternoon. I'm petitioning my husband, but he lost his I-94. So there's a way to get the I-94. I don't know if he came a long time ago and he got the paper version, but they're now doing it electronically. So you can actually go to the CBP's website and pull up a new I-94 if he was a recent entry. How long does it take to get travel document and EAD after filing VAWA? So I would say right now, 6 to 12 months. All right. Did my biometrics last year. My case shows I-765 decision, 4 months. I-485 shows 1 week decision. So it's just a waiting game at this point. What if I have a bar from voluntary deportation from 2004? So that is on the complicated side. We'd have to evaluate what happened, and if you had a bar, how did you end up coming? Are you back into the country? Because if you came back after deportation, that might have further implications. But if you're outside of the U.S., and a certain period of time has passed. Obviously, if it happened in 2004, 20 years has passed, you may be able to reapply through a spouse or parent who's trying to petition for you. But we have to understand first what's going on there. How long it take to get an I-131 approved? So I've seen 6 to 12 months. If you are looking at an emergency, then about 4 weeks, emergency travel document. Hey, I'm new here in the US. How long can I stay when married to a US citizen to file for marriage? So, when you're coming here and you get married, you don't want to file any papers within 90 days of your entry into the US because there is a rule that says that they are going to look at whether you intended based on that action that you took within 90 days of your arrival. They can presume that you actually intended to come in, get married, and file papers. So I always say just be on the safe side. Apply after 90 days, 90 days after your entry, or after 90 days. Then, that would be the only thing I would look out for. Other than that, there are really no rules that say you have to wait. Can you live from TP to the new cases? I'm not sure what that is. Can I get a visitor's visa? Is my husband already sponsor me? It's possible, but you have to really come good with evidence to show that you won't overstay your time. Um, you want to bring your biological mom, but birth certificate has dad, ex-wife name on it. Is it possible? So that can get complicated because they usually go by who's on your birth certificate. And it also could mean were you adopted by the ex-wife of your dad on the birth certificate? Or was this, I have seen one case where it was intentional fraud to put the other person's name on the application for some reason or the other. So that can have broader implications on the immigration side and maybe even result in some misrepresentation or fraud, just depending on if that birth certificate was ever used for any immigration purposes with the knowledge that the parents weren't really the parents on the birth certificate. So I really need to understand your facts to be able to properly advise you here. All right. What is after prima facie determination letter received, and what are the RFE usually USCIS issues based on VAWA? So after prima facie, then if you apply for your work permit, that's gonna come next. Now RFEs are going to differ based on your case. If they need anything in regards to one of the requirements. So usually an RFE is going to be in reference to one of the requirements that they need to review. So for example, is it a requirement based on your good moral character? Is it a requirement based on the fact that you have to live with would have had to show that at some point you lived with the relative that mistreated your relative or spouse. Do Is it a matter of they want more evidence of good more a bona fide marriage, or is it that they want to clarify the mistreatment or abuse or extreme cruelty? So it could fall anywhere among those. Approximately how long does it take for a military PIP to be approved? So I'd say 3 to 6 months. All right. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that compliment. Thank you. All right. I have my EAD card. How do I apply for a travel document? I really need to help my grandma pass. Oh, I'm so sorry. My condolences. So you have your EAD. You have to. So the USCIS has a tool. So if you go to uscis.gov, I'd have to navigate it, which I don't have the ability to do right now. But go to uscis.gov and I believe click on tools, and then I believe there's an option to apply for in an emergency travel document. That's going to be your best option here. I mean, as long as you do qualify for a travel document. You will have to put in the form that you have to travel because your grandmother passed away, and then just make sure that when you can provide proof of the death of your grandma, so usually like a death certificate to show that this is happening, and then as the arrangements are being made for your grandmother, funeral arrangements and so forth, that you also gather that information as well. They will call you and schedule an emergency travel document appointment at the local USCIS office closest to you. And then that's where you will go. If you hadn't applied for a travel document already, they'll ask you to carry your fees. Make sure that they probably will have you fill out an I-131, which is the form for the travel document. And then at that appointment, they will either collect that information and then let you know when they approve it. It all usually takes place over 3 to 4 weeks to get approval. Can I do my medical in any state, or it have to be the state that you're filing the papers? As you can do your medical in any state as long as the physician is authorized by the USCIS. So you can go to the USCIS, use the Find a Doctor tool, and find the doctor using the zip code. You can't use any doctor of your choosing. It has to be an authorized physician by the USCIS. And they have multiple options, but you just can't say, I want to go to my family doctor and have my family doctor fill out the paperwork. That's not allowed unless that doctor is an authorized physician. Good afternoon. I'm petitioning my husband, but he lost his I-94, so I answered that. All right. What do you think about the free citizenship drive coming up? All good. If you have the ability to go, go. I have volunteered at the citizenship drives, and it's very efficient. They have competent attorneys that work very quickly to review the application to make sure everything looks good. So I would say it's worth it. It's worth it. If it's time for you to apply and you need help to apply, definitely go to the citizenship drives. It is worth it. So, based on my past experience with the citizenship drive when I volunteered for it, the way that it works is that you would come in with your forms, and then they sort of have it through a line where you work with people to fill out your volunteers to fill out your application. And then once you complete your application, there are a line of attorneys there that you will be called up to an attorney. You'll meet with the attorney who will review your application to make sure there's nothing of concern. If there's nothing of concern, then you move on to then finalizing your application with they'll send you off with instructions on how to file your application, and by paper, by the way. But with my firm, I do electronically because it's very quick, and we get the receipt notice in a matter of seconds after submitting the application. And by the way, I this is just an observation for me. I noticed that my electronic when I file them electronically, they go through very fast. So my cases, my citizenship cases go through a process of 2 months. So I've had them for 2 months, to 8 months. I have not had any cases exceed 8 months in processing times. And that's because immigration receives it very quickly electronically. There's no mail, there's no snail mail, there's no mail room, there's no sorting any kind of mail that will lead to potential mistakes. It just goes straight to where it needs to go. We get the receipt notice, and sometimes instantaneously we get biometrics notice or biometrics wave notice, and then the interview. So it's very quick. But as I said before, the drive is a good way to get attorney advice especially if you are restricted income-wise and you need to find an affordable way to have an attorney review and help you out with your application. They returned my application for the green card. I'm so sorry, that can be frustrating. Just look at whatever error they said is there and fix the error and then send it back. Does upgrading I-130 will add more waiting time? We applied February 2022. So no, actually I've experienced where when, for example, my client was a spouse of a resident and the resident became a citizen, it actually moved faster. So will any rule come like President Clinton made sibling I-130 case till it process, you can stay in the US? So we hope if President Biden wins the election, we can see a lot more, fair, just rules and regulations coming through to help families stay together. That's the goal of its parole in place program right now for spouses and children of U.S. citizens. So it's a possibility, but we have to see where this goes. And as speaking of this, if you are a US citizen listening now, make sure you are ready. Make sure you're getting ready to vote. Make sure that you're registered to vote. Make sure you have your voter's registration. Make sure you know where you can vote. If you're out of state or you're away from your voting location, make sure you get your absentee ballots where it's time to get the absentee ballots. Because, guys, that's how we're going to make a change here. It's not going to just come by magical thinking that things are just going to end nicely. To have a nice, to continue to progress in immigration and in everything, actually, every aspect right now. A lot is counting our rights, our civil rights, our the ability for immigrants to thrive here with all their sacrifices that they have made in the US, all of that. And by the way, the ability for employers to continue to hire immigrants who contribute greatly to progress of employers in order to make sure that all of this goes through smoothly, that we continue to make progress. You need to go and vote. Make sure that you don't wait last minute to make sure everything is in place. Make sure everything is in place to get ready to vote. We have to show up in great numbers to do what we did in 2020. We need to do it again. Because if we don't, whatever we overcame in 2020 is going to come 10 times worse in 2025. So we need to show up. Good day. Can my disabled U.S. citizen boyfriend marry and file for me if he's on welfare? It's a possibility, yes. So if he's on welfare, his income is too low, you can get a joint sponsor who they have the income to apply. Will any rule come? So I answered that. Thanks so much. Is it safe to travel internationally with the I-751 extension letter? Yes, it is. Now, if you have, keep in mind, I'm not your attorney. I don't know your case. If you have something you're worried about, you need to make sure you connect with us. Um, for example, I did have a consultation with someone who had the I-751, but then had the extension. But in the midst of having the extension, she got a denial that came through. And had she traveled with the extension, that might have been a problem. So, it just depends on where you are in your case and so forth. How long after you come back to the US after you overstay? How long after you come back to the US after? So if you overstayed over 180 days, you're barred for 3 years. If you overstay over a year, then you're barred for 10 years. Oh, thank you so much, God is love. He has a felony. So what if I'm ready to start my case? I've been giving a month away from now just to talk to you. Well, now keep in mind that we do have another attorney who is available, but fortunately, because we have a lot of people that have are on my schedule to get assistance. If you would like to call the office back and then rearrange to talk to our other attorney instead of me so that you can get through faster, please make sure you do that. I work very closely with Attorney Bria to help our clients. So it's not just me, but another attorney that can work with you to determine, how we can help you and move faster on your case. Is there a page for the rules on visa waivers? So I'm not sure what. So there's the ESTA. So I don't know if that's what you're referring to with the ESTA. Good afternoon. How long after wedding can I file for my husband? You can file right away, but what I usually say is, are you prepared with all the documentation to file? The USCIS website is never accurate. It's so frustrating. It's frustrating for me too, absolutely. Um, and there's really no accountability there. So I get you. Can TPS get green card? Yes, I've had clients who had TPS and got their green card, but how that happens is going to depend on how they entered and all the circumstances behind the TPS as well. Because there's no direct path from TPS to green card, but you can have TPS and still qualify for the green card. Okay, what's your fee? So we start with 150 for the consultation, and that's where we learn about what you qualify for. We advise you, and then we can provide you a quote based on what case type you qualify for. All right. Good afternoon. My mother came to visit in the States. However, she fell ill and is being treated. What can we do to avoid overstay? Apply for an extension. That's going to be your best bet here. And the extension is filed through the I-539. You can always give us a call, schedule an appointment, and we can talk about it as well. But that extension is going to be one of them. If your mom has, I know you said you want to avoid an overstay, but I think it's good for a lot of people to know this, that if you already overstayed, there's also the ability to apply to get that reversed based on extraordinary circumstances. So they just implemented that new rule. And then also there's medical deferred action as well. How long do I need to stay with abusive spouse before applying for VAWA? If you stay with them for 5 hours and you were abused, you could qualify for VAWA, right? So there's no time limit, right? There's no regulation or rule that says somebody has to abuse you for 2 years before you can get your papers. That would be atrocious. If you stayed with someone who abused you for more than an hour after you experienced that abuse, then that would be too long. So VAWA is there if you have experienced abuse, no matter how long you've been with that spouse. I have represented clients, my clients who have been with their spouse who literally lived with them for a day before they realized that they're in harm's way, and they left the situation and they still are okay going through the follow-up process. How long does it take for I-601 waiver to send my application? So I said 2 weeks. So I heard U.S. citizen spouse PIP start date has been published. So I'll have to check the regulations to see that. But I know I received an email just yesterday saying, don't let people tell you, don't let scammers tell you, here's the fee, pay the fee, and submit. They're going to submit these applications now, right? Um, they have good information about what documents you need to be gathering, but do not pay anybody to be doing this until they actually have the process in place. Just got the email yesterday. Yesterday, they did not have a process in place, but they had a lot of information about what kinds of documents you should be gathering. I'm going to release a video on that to just talk about some of the documents that you should be gathering while we wait for the official start of the process. All right, that's going to be it for me today. Thanks, everyone, for your time. Let me just see if I have any more additional questions on Instagram. Are you in New York? So we're not physically located in New York, but we do represent our clients in all 50 states. So we have many clients in New York. Is a waiver needed if you overstayed but left on your own and have lived outside the US for 12 plus years? So if you had one illegal entry, you're probably going to need a waiver. But one illegal entry, then you left, you are barred for 10 years. So if now it's been over 10 years, that time may have passed as well. But with your case, it's probably going to be complex. We need to look at it. If you lost your passport with visa inside, do I have to reapply in Jamaica or in the States? I'm in Alabama. So keep in mind that the passport, losing your passport is one thing, losing the visa is another. You first have to make sure you can replace your passport, and then you have to contact the embassy to get the visa back. So, and the embassy will probably have to call you back, get your passport, stamp the new visa, replacement visa, and the passport. Between VAWA and T status, which is the faster way to the green card? So you're always going to hear me say VAWA is the better option. But when in our practice, sometimes people don't get the choice between VAWA and the T status. Because remember, VAWA is for certain US citizen relatives. If you're being mistreated by certain US citizen or resident relatives or a spouse, right? Citizen or resident spouse. T status can cover any kind of situation as long as the facts show that you were the victim of a form of trafficking. And as you always hear me say, trafficking comes in different forms. So you'd be very surprised at the kinds of situations that do qualify as trafficking. So VAWA is the better option. VAWA, it does take 3 years to get to the green card, but you do get a 5-year work permit, you get your social security number, you get your 5-year travel document while you wait for the green card. T status now, you get to T status first, that takes about a year, and then you have to wait for another 3 years to apply for your green card, or you can apply early, which can cut it down to maybe a year and a half to 2 years. So I would say if you apply early for T status, they're neck on neck. But VAWA is pretty much a straightforward path to the green card. T status, you have to apply for T status, get approved, and then from there, wait a while or ask for permission to apply for the green card. How long does it take to get a work authorization after getting the prima facie? So I don't usually count from the point of the prima facie. I count from the point that you applied, and it's usually 6 to 12 months. Oh, okay. Well, thank you for that. I think he's gonna be a lawyer too. Um, someone here just commented on my son. My son was on did a little cameo for Take Your Child to Work Day, and I'm trying to introduce him to the field because yes, that's my hope. It would be so much fun to partner with my son. He has a way to go, but he has said he wants to be a lawyer, so let's see where he goes with that. Um, Thank you so much. All right, and thanks everyone for your time. I really appreciate it. I will be back tomorrow. So far, doing good. I think we're on the fourth day. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I believe I wasn't here, but Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Tomorrow will be 4 days out of the 5 days that I've been on live, connecting with you all, which I enjoy doing. Sometimes it gets busy, but I'm really want to make sure I can connect with you. And there's a lot going on in immigration. So I want to continue to give you updates and give you valuable information, answer your questions. So follow me, subscribe. That way you'll see when I come on. And then as soon as I come on, if you're available, you can join me too. Another thing is that if you want to see the live again, rewatch the live, go to YouTube. If you're on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, go to YouTube and go to the channel Getting the Green Card. Getting the Green Card channel is where I am right here. You'll see the replay of the live, and you'll be able to, if you wanted to just, catch up on information or you had to leave early or you missed it, you can always find the live there as well. So thanks everyone for your time. I always enjoy answering your questions, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye bye.